But at the same time, did you have any of the toys?
Yeah, I did. I had a few.
What'd you have?
So I don't remember. It's funny because the Silverhawks was one of my favorite. I don't remember a whole lot about the show. I just remember having like 3 or 4 characters and just playing with those. And it had like, these little wings that would come out or whatever. And
I don't remember Silverhawks at all.
And what other ones? I'm sure I had some, some GI Joes and, and some Transformers. Yeah, I think like some of the GI Joes were the most fun to play with. But what was fun too was like mixing all the different toys.
You know what? This looks really awesome. I'm looking up Silverhawks right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah.
I had the car Voltron, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
I also, but I had that was a tiny one, and I had like the cat Voltron one, not the large one that you could fit the figurines in, but the one that stood like, I don't know, like 1.5 feet or something. It was like this.
Yeah.
And I used to play with that all the time. And there were like little things where like it would shoot things out of the hand, or no, I think the heads flew out of the hands, and out of the feet there was like a little thing that shot out. Either way, I had those, and then I liked Transformers.
Yeah.
I was big into Transformers. I didn't have a lot of them, but like if I found out friends had them, I would ask my mom like if I went over to their house or something, can I bring my Transformers?
Yeah.
Because then we could do like battles and things like that.
Yeah.
And I also had He-Man. And I think that was a thing that started like for like my birthday or something. But I remember Christmases and birthdays, like opening a new He-Man doll or action figure, I should call it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't even remember what they did, but I just remember like with my friends, like making them like fight each other and then you ride around on the little sled thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any of those?
I did have some He-Man toys. I don't remember what his vehicle was called. That was like, it would like rotate, like the back of it would rotate to the front.
Yeah, I don't remember what that was either.
For some reason, that was like my favorite toy.
It looked like a jet ski or something, didn't it?
Yeah.
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 And he would fight Skeletor and stuff on it, right?
Yep.
Did you have or know anyone that had the castles?
I'm sure somebody did. Man, that's a far memory thinking about.
I had I think I had both of them. I remember the Skeletor's castle was like Castle Snake or something like that, or Snake Fortress or
something like that.
But it had a thing that you could talk into, and it would make you sound like Skeletor. Yeah. That was like my favorite part. Sometimes I wasn't even playing; I was just playing with that thing and saying things to my parents or sister or something. Yeah.
I recently looked up like He-Man just to look at the old trailer, and I don't know, man. It just it only doesn't age well, because what was his lion or cat called? Like the thing was like a scaredy cat, like because
it used to. It used to complain or something.
Yeah, and he like would point the sword at it to like, so it would become the battle cat, but it didn't look any different. It still looked like a little like scaredy cat
name. Cringer.
Yeah. But it turned to Battle Cat, right? Or was that the name of it? When I think that's when he would like give it the superpowers.
Yes. Okay, so I'm looking online right here, and it says whenever Adam, and I didn't remember that He-Man's real name was Adam.
Yeah.
But it was whenever Adam transformed into He-Man, he used his power sword to transform Cringer into a much larger and mightier battle cat. And he would ride him.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right. This is like from 83.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But no, one of the things I was thinking about was how basically it was basically like a half an hour commercial,
Mm-hmm.
and they would sell you on why the show. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say like they would basically pitch it to you to like kind of respect the show. Like G.I. Joe stood for good, He-Man stood for good, then Thundercats were standing for good, and Voltron was standing for, and you kind of looked up to them. And then they would roll in and out of commercials, and sometimes they would advertise the toys for the show during the commercial or during the show in a commercial. But the commercial was also a cartoon sometimes. And it just felt like, when does the show end and when does the commercial begin?
Mm-hmm.
And now as an adult, I've looked back at some of that stuff, and I was just looking this up. I had it written down here. Evidently, the reason why stuff like that stopped was because during the 80s, the FCC was working with Congress to come up with some type of regulation so that you can't just try to trick kids into buying things. Because when there's not a firm like point where the show ends and the commercial begins, it's confusing. I mean, it's confusing as an adult, but it's got to be even more confusing as a kid.
Okay.
And so evidently in 91, or actually I'm seeing here, in October of 1990, they enacted a thing called the Children's Television Act, which basically says that they can't do that anymore. So like if nowadays, if there was a G.I. Joe show, which I think there is another one, isn't there?
I think so.
Okay. And they probably sell the action figures. They can't advertise during the show.
They can't advertise for a G.I. Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like back in the day, if it was like, let's say G.I. Joe and then like He-Man was afterwards, then they could advertise for G.I. Joe during He-Man or advertise for He-Man during G.I. Joe. But I mean, that's not what they did in the past. They just melded it all together.
Yeah. Okay. I could see that. And I don't know, maybe that was a little bit smarter, that's a smarter way to advertise. I mean,
it's the more manipulative way to do it, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm happy that they did that. Not that they took advantage of kids, but I mean that they changed the format so that's illegal now.
But wait, I feel like recently I've seen like a show being played, and then a commercial or advertisement for something in the show or for the.
Well,
I feel like I've seen that.
See, there's limits to this. So, if your show is mainly targeting children under 12, you can't do it. If your show is targeting 16 to 13, they can do it, but they need to, at least from what I've understood, they can do it, but they need to tell you that this is an advertisement. Or at least they need to make it obvious that it is. And then 17 and older, they're just like, hey, man, you figure it out for yourself.
But what's the difference? Because like, so if you're having a G.I. Joe show or whatever, maybe even a show from today, and it plays and then gets to the end, and then there's a commercial. Say there's no clear cut line that the show has ended, and the commercial begins. But what's the?
Well, I seem to remember, at least when I was a kid, that there was times where like the show would be going on and then all of a sudden it felt like they were talking like to the audience. And then they were saying things like, and you can get this to have at home. And then I was just thinking like, is this still part of the show?
Yeah.
And then we go right back into the action. And I'm thinking, as an adult now, I'm thinking back like, oh, they cut to commercial, but the commercial was kind of woven into the show, so it didn't look like anything stopped.
Yeah.
But I mean, they could remove that chunk, and it wasn't part of the storyline.
Okay. So with that being said, so then could you have like the show be playing, then a commercial for another product, and then a commercial for yours for the show that was just on, and then maybe. I mean, I guess it depends on also the commercial break, how long it's going to be the break. But say you got watching, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you're kind of saying two things here. So, first of all, at least according to the Wikipedia site, they're only allowed to do 12 minutes of advertisement per hour to children under 12, and it has to be obvious that it's advertisement. And if your show is XYZ, then you can't advertise for XYZ toys during the show, but you can advertise during the same hour. If maybe the second half hour is a different show, then you could advertise then.
Okay, I get it.
So I mean, there's loopholes to it. So like if the kid was watching cartoon A and then started watching cartoon B because it was right afterwards, and then they started advertising for cartoon A's toys, it's still fresh in their head, you know.
Yeah.
But at least, I don't know. I look at this as a good step in the right direction, and that, as an adult, I can generally understand. Well, I understand why people are advertising, and I can generally figure out that these are advertisements. Yeah. Although that also goes into a little bit of, and it was on. What's that show on HBO? Last Week Tonight with John Oliver.
Oh, okay.
And they were talking about sponsored stories where they might go to like a local morning show for a news program, and you could pay for them to cover a story about you, and you basically give them the script, which is effectively a commercial that you think is part of the show. But we're adults, so I guess they can do that. But they can't do that to kids, which, hey, we should protect the kids, of course. But it's just funny. It feels like the 80s ruined it.
Yeah.
Because every single one of those things had toys, and not like one or two toys, like a lot of toys.
Yeah.